Just going down to get some lettuce, well, getting some onions. Just going down to get some food for dinner. This is the garden. Sugar cane over there on the left. Planted a whole pile of new tiger grass and bananas over there. This is the banana I planted about a year ago. A lime tree and a lemon tree which has been pruned. This is the cos lettuce. It's almost getting too big now. I'm going to pull that out. I've planted too much. These are some leeks here. I'm going to pull some of them out for dinner. They're getting a bit long. I think I've been fertilising them quite heavily with nitrogen, urea, but I've got a feeling they might be bolting, so I'm going to pull some of these out and use them in dinner. These actually might be a bunching onion, but you can use these sort of any age. They don't have to be particularly mature to be able to use them. I'm a bit worried about them bolting, because once they bolt they become quite tough. This silver beet here was earlier this year, but it's starting to get a bit of the black spot. I pull that out and compost it in the compost over there. The black spots, something that just keeps coming back. This is the silver beet, the newer silver beet over here. These are hops. This is Cascade hops. I've got to prune these and stake them up. I use those stakes on top of the compost there, and they can grow up to 30 feet high. This is a new addition to the garden. This is my single skull. It's only just been here half a day or so. I'm going to find a better place to put that. These are some leek seedlings. So they're all through here. You can see leeks coming through. This is a beetroot which is bolting. So I might pull that out because that's not going to do any good. When they bolt, they start using the nutrient in the tuber. So there's a tuber there, and you end up losing the beetroot itself, and then all that energy goes into the growth of the plant. So pull it out for dinner. These are Brussels sprouts. These are nasturtiums. They get a bit, they're really like weeds. I've always found the way that the water pools on the leaf really interesting. It's raining at the moment, by the way. Some of the nicest time to be in a garden when it's raining. But these nasturtiums are like almost like duck feathers, you know. The water can just roll around on the leaf, and very water repellent. There's kale. I pulled a lot of kale out. It's starting to seed as well. This is another form of kale, this one. I prefer this one personally. I'm just keeping a few plants. I don't eat that much of it. The broad beans there. This is rocket, wild rocket. This is wild rocket as well. This is a swede. This is the last swede for the year. This is enormous. Like that's literally going to be like a 3 or 4 kilogram swede. Cucumbers and zucchini growing in here, and potatoes as well. This is my firewood stack. I've got some new stylages for IBCs which I'm using for firewood. I used to have them in that woodshed there, and what I realised after time is that storing green firewood in a woodshed isn't actually a good idea. You want it to be out in the rain, because the rain washes the sap out of the wood and actually makes it season quicker, which is something that I've only learnt recently. So I pulled all the wood from the shed back out into these stylages, and it's out in the rain and the weather, and they'll season quicker, be more useful in the fire. So I've been planting some more trees as well. Actually, this is a peach. This is a white peach. I put that in last week. All this rainy weather is perfect timing for planting. Over here is some comfrey. comfrey isn't edible, but it's a perfect composting plant, and I've grown that from seed. I had to put the seeds in the fridge for a few weeks to winter them, and then germinated them in peat moss, and they grow from a rhizome, so every year they'll come up. I'll just mow them over and put them in the compost, so they become quite bushy, and they're ideal for composting. They're obviously not edible, they're quite poisonous. Parsley, my compost bins, I've emptied that one out. This one's in progress. This one's in progress. This is my cow manure pile. This is my avocado tree. I planted this just the other day. I planted one here before and I overwatered it and it got root rot and it died, so I'm trying it again. I'm not watering it as much this time. This is my coffee tree. You can see some of the coffee berries starting to go red, so that means they're ready. I'll pick this one and just show you now how it works. So all of these coffee berries, and the tree's quite extensive, and there's two. I've got an Arabica and a Robusta. But when you squeeze out the bean, and that's a coffee bean there. There's two halves to it, so they get roasted. Dry them out first. You soak them in water to remove the thin external skins, and then you roast them. So I've got thousands this year. First year I had about 40, I had enough for a cup, and then every year it's an exponential increase. So there's two trees, Arabica and Robusta. This wisteria has just taken over everything. I planted my second avocado tree here. I'll show you some of the other plants I put in recently. So this is the grapefruit, and it's got some lovely new growth on it here. All of these new shoots are new, obviously. They've come out in the last few weeks. This is a grapevine. This is a Cabernet grape, Cabernet Sauvignon. Got three of them. This is a Tahitian lime. No, sorry, not Tahitian lime. This is a Kaffir lime, which is a Southeast Asian lime. You use the zest from that for the cooking, particularly Southeast Asian cooking. And this is the last Cab Sav vine here. Anyway, that's that. It's an old wet afternoon. That bottle brush next door is just enormously grown so much, and the amount of flowers on it is more than I've ever seen before. That used to be on the fence line. 2 years ago that was down on the fence line, so I think because I put the compost there, it's just increased the amount of nitrogen that tree's getting. Anyway, that's a bit of a garden update. One more thing actually, my hops that I've grown from seed. Got 3 pots here. What I'm trying to do here is breed a new variety of hop. What I need first is get a male plant, because hops are either a male or a female plant. These are ones, this is the 3rd year now, or 4th year actually, since I've germinated these seeds. So these are plants that I've started from seed. These are wild hops, so I'm hoping that one of these will be male. If it isn't, I've got more seeds in the fridge ready to go. But I need a male plant to cross with a few females that I have in order to develop a cross between some varieties. I want to create a mimic for a product called Citra. But see how that goes. But what I need first is a male. You see these shoots here, these long tendrils coming out. Hops grow at about 6 inches a day in full growth time. I fertilise these with manure and compost, but also with urea and sulphate of ammonia, sulphate of potash and fertilisers like that. So between all those things I get a pretty high growth rate. So what I need to do next is stake these up. These hops could potentially get to 20 foot high if I let them, but what I really want to do this year is see what gender they are, and from that I can start to breed with the hops that I have down the back there. These are just leek seedlings, and this is my second avocado. This is my second avocado here. So this is the front garden, and I've got my flowers along here. What I've got here is cornflowers, alyssum, California poppies, some dwarf dahlias, calendulas. That's about all there is on this side. Over here, on this other side here, in more of a shady part of the garden, there's the foxglove, and these are probably 3 years old now. When I first put them in, there was no germination for at least a year. They came up the second year, the seeds germinated, and they've been going for at least 2 years now. And this is probably the best flowering that I've had so far. These flowers have just come out. You can just see the little bells of the foxglove showing through, but there's 3 stems, which is better than I've had before. And over here I've got some red robin hedges that I've planted. The next door neighbour's going to pull out my lovely green wall, unfortunately. So I've taken some preemptive action and planted some hedging plants on my side of the fence so that I have a chance of some privacy in the future. So they're red robins on this front part, just a normal red robin, and further towards the back there's a variety called tall robins, which are thinner and don't put out so many side branches, and those have been planted slightly closer together because at the side of the house there's less room. There's not that much room, so I didn't want anything sort of coming out too far. These are the tall robins here. And over here I've got a couple of plants that I haven't planted yet. This is my orange tree. This is a Lane's Lake Navel Orange. I've got another grape. This is a Merlot grape. And then I have a mango tree. I haven't put them in yet. They need to go in. It's perfect planting conditions with all this rain lately. The Mariah hedges are coming on great. They're 8 years old now. I planted them 8 years ago. And I've really put a lot of effort into preparing the soil. They were literally about 6 inches high off the ground when I put them in. Now they're hard to control. So they just want to get higher and higher. So they get trimmed twice a year. I guess the secret with those was lots of water, lots of lime, and lots of compost and manure. But lime, you can't put too much lime in, I don't think. Anyway, on this rainy day, that's about it. This is my tea rose. It's a very old variety. I think it's about as old as the house is, which is probably over 150 years old or whatnot. Surrounded by a very extensive geranium with these nice vermilion flowers. It's just been pruned recently, so you can't see all the flowers, but this was covered in flowers recently, and this is the remnant one here. The remnant of the flowers that were on it. It's a nice light pink colour. There's some new shoots coming on here, as you can see. You almost can't prune this one too much. The more it gets pruned, the more flowers you get.